Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Le Château de Petit Somme, or also known as Radhadesh, is one of my favorite temples I had the good fortune to experience. Situated near the smallest city in Europe, Bourboui, the aesthetic Gothic castle has a long history of uses and several owners over the past decades.
The chateau that you have here now, the castle, is actually the third castle already. So two of them have already been demolished and rebuilt, and the current castle is in Gothic style, and that dates from 1877. It served many purposes. For example, in the First World War, 1914, 1918, it was used as a military base. And then in the Second World War, the Christian nuns, they would reside here. But then in 1944, they were kicked out by an American general who made this his headquarters to drive out the Germans. In 45, after the war, it was sold, and then in 49 it became like a place for children to spend their holidays, like youth camps, all the way up to like 1970. And then in 79, the Hare Krishna devotees, they bought this castle and they purchased it for 1 million guilders, which is 25,000 euros of value now. They purchased all the land and the castle in 1979. And then the deities that we have here, Sri Radha Gopinath, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra and Gornitai, they came from actually the Amsterdam temple to Radhadesh in the 1980. The uniqueness of Radhadesh is that it's, of course, a spiritual devotional community. We are also a place of pilgrimage because many Indian people from Holland, Belgium and Luxembourg, Germany, they come here to spend some time here. We are also like a commercial place because we have a flourishing restaurant and a boutique and a boulangerie, and so we are also in a very touristic area here in the south of Belgium. So many tourists, they come here. We do guided tours here.
So, we are here in Radhadesh. And since I have been living in Radhadesh for a couple of years, I will give you a tour to this castle by myself. So the first place to come in is the nice and unique reception area of Radhadesh. Here you can also book your professional tour if you decide to visit Radhadesh. And you can also ask if you have any questions here. So now we are going up the stairs of the big tower. You can see this corridor. It's very narrow, something we would nowadays probably consider impractical or inconvenient. The idea behind this construction is that in the Middle Ages, where we still fought with swords in hand, and most people were right-handed, they would have an advantage when attacking from up here, down there, because the invaders, they would run into the castle, and then the royalty could run upstairs the tower to look for protection, and the right-hand-sided man will always have an advantage striking down, while being right-handed will give you a serious disadvantage in dealing with these short spaces. So this is the intention that went into designing these stairs. And so we are here at the top of the tower. This is one of my favorite places in Radhadesh. You can see everything from here right now. The whole project is a little bit of a Belgium weather today, and Radhadesh of course looks best when the sun is outside and there is a nice weather here. However, I wouldn't be completely honest. Of course there is good weather in Radhadesh, but most of the time in Belgium you find weather like this. From here, right at the other side, that is the place where the monks reside. It's called the Brahmachari Ashram. We have a very nice view. In the front of the castle we have the bakery there, the boutique, the restaurant, the guest house. There are some buildings where resident members reside, and Over there is our Gurukul, our school, playground for kids. And over there is our wonderful Premaculture Garden. So from here you have an amazing view of the place. And now I would like to get into more depth of Radhadesh, being a holy place, being a temple. What is it what we are actually doing here?
Even though the philosophy of Krishna consciousness can be tracked down in history to be several thousand years old, the timeless knowledge of the Vedic literature that features Bhakti-Yoga has been brought to us by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada on the strength of the instructions of his spiritual master, translated important texts of Vedic knowledge into the English language. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna explains to his friend and devotee Arjuna how the soul cannot be killed or destroyed by any weapon, and just like we change clothes from one dress to another, the spirit soul, as long as it wants to continue to enjoy this material world and be separated from God's eternal kingdom, must transmigrate from one material body to another. This is called reincarnation. Srila Prabhupada challenged many prominent scholars and scientists about their atheistic worldview, convincing millions to give up the materialistic ways of life and to take up the service of loving devotion.
So this is called the avatar room. There are depictions of different avatars of Vishnu, how he appears in different ages and different times to fulfill a certain purpose. So that's a big part of understanding the Krishna conscious philosophy, that God does appear indeed in this world, and he takes different forms and shapes. And not only does he appear in a human form, he sometimes also comes in the form of an animal. Because God is the Lord of all living beings, so why should he be limited only to a human form?
On the other side of the Radhadesh castle is perhaps my favorite store of the Hare Krishna movement. In Bhaktivedanta Library Services, or short BLS, you can find a huge collection of books from our previous gurus and their followers. As well as some musical instruments to perform kirtan. The next station is a very unique and important project.
So in Radhadesh we do permaculture. Permaculture, what is it? It's a new way of farming which combines the ecological principles of permaculture with the principle of Bhakti-Yoga. It has been created in 2020. And it has been inspired by Ardennes and Bhakti-Yoga. Permaculture has three main values. These three values are simplicity, sustainability and spirituality. So we will try to recreate a farm ecosystem based on these three values. For that we need to create a small-scale project, an ecosystem which is adjusted to one family. A family of 5 to 10 people, but not less. So if we can create a self-sustainable ecosystem for this family on a short piece of land, this unit could be replicated by many people inside ISKCON or outside ISKCON, whatever. But those ecosystems, when you link them together, it creates a big network, and this big network will help each one of these people in the network to grow faster towards self-sufficiency, because self-sufficiency is something that we have to recreate. We lost this knowledge, mainly in the Western countries. We lost our knowledge and our ability to grow self-sufficient ecosystem to sustain ourselves. So now what do? Then we have to experiment, but experimenting on a big piece of land, it can be really challenging. When you do farming and you want to experiment a new variety of crop, a new principle, then a new technique, then you have to experiment it throughout the year. And you have one full season where you need to constantly check the impact of this new technique or principle on your land. If you work with a very little ecosystem, a little piece of land, and you have many of these, many different pieces of land, then you can run many different experiments on one season, and then you can save many years of research, many years of experimentations, and then that's why you can grow faster towards a self-sufficient ecosystem.
Welcome to the greenhouse.
Welcome to the greenhouse. So we are in the greenhouse too. There are 3 greenhouses in Radhadesh, and each greenhouse is part of one ecosystem. So there are 3 ecosystems. For the moment, one unit is 1,200 square meters. It's 20 meters wide and 60 meters long. And there are different parts in each ecosystem. There is a greenhouse, there is the main garden, there is a grain production area, and there is a food forest. Each unit is manageable by one person, so one full-time job is required and is enough to look after one unit. So basically one person is feeding 10 persons
Throughout the year.
throughout the year. That's the idea, that's what we want to achieve. So we are inside ecosystem number 2, and each greenhouse has 2 parts. There is the nursery and there is the production area. So the nursery, it's a place where we're growing all our seedlings from the seeds that we harvested on the same unit the year before. Those seedling tables, there are 4 of them, and they are all laying on big boxes. These boxes are like 1 cubic meter. And those boxes, they are full of cow dung, cow manure. You can see. So we leave this cow manure during 1 year, and after 1 year, what's happening? Then this compost will be almost decomposed enough to, at least decompose enough to put on the beds, and we have very fresh and nice golden soil ready to use. We are filling up those boxes with cow manure from our cows. So there is 1 cubic meter of cow dung in those boxes in February. When you pile up 1 cubic meter of cow dung, then it's producing a lot of heat. So if you put your hand here in February, it's like 60 degrees. It's really hot. And the heat is coming up and hit the table here. The table will warm up, but if we don't put a roof or something to block the heat, then the heat will just go around and then slowly going outside, and we lose all this heat that we have accumulated. So we put some plexiglass. Here we have a few sheets of plexiglass, and we put them on the top, like this table you see on your left. And there is still some opening on the side, but it's sufficient to keep a temperature of 15 to 20 degrees inside the table. And we fill up this table with water, we put the seedlings inside, and we wait like 1 week maximum. After 1 week we will see all the plants sprouting. Actually, these seedlings, we planted them 4 days ago, and you can see they're already sprouting. So what are we trying to sprout in end of October in Belgium? That's a good question. That's maybe not so smart, because winter is coming, and when the temperature is going down below 0, then most of the plant will die anyway. But those plants are rye. So rye are sprouting slowly.
Slowly, yeah.
It's rye from the shop, and it's a bit slow to sprout. It's also like 2 years ago, rye. So, but here we have the same rye, but from last year from the garden. The difference is quite big.
Yeah.
So that shows also like the importance of seed saving, and to use our seeds every year to replant straight away in the ground. The sprouting capacity of the plant is much higher. You can see there's more life in the.
And they have been planted at the same time, right?
Exactly the same day, the same hour. So yeah,
quite a big difference. Yeah.
So it's not a big quantity, but it's also considering that if you want to be self-sufficient, you would probably have to reduce the amount of bread that you eat every day. Being self-sufficient means that you need to change your lifestyle. It doesn't mean that you can continue eating exactly the same as you eat every day and produce everything yourself. I mean, everybody knows it for avocado and all this stuff. It doesn't grow here, but we should know it also for the other plants that we normally grow in Belgium. And we need to adjust them to a self-sufficient system, to a small-scale farming, to permaculture basically. And that's a challenge sometimes, because I think if we want to be self-sufficient, the first step would be to change our mindset and to be ready to change our diet. That's a big step. So an example, the rye. We will do only rye bread. We don't do wheat bread, and the reason why is just because in a self-sufficient way it makes more sense. Rye, it's bigger plant, more production, higher, so more straw, and more resistant to the birds. Because birds will come also in July and eat everything, all the wheat, but they won't do the same with rye. 2 years ago we did wheat on the first project, we did rye here, and on the third project then we did spelt. And that's why we selected rye, because it was the crop which was the most successful in terms of production. So we do that with almost all the plants that we're growing here. It's one of the most valuable crops that we can grow here. In terms of quality, the soya beans are just extremely important in our diet, especially if we live in Belgium, because it's the main source of all macronutrient and micronutrient too. And if you transform it into tempeh, it has also some vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 that we are really lacking when we want to have a lacto-vegetarian diet. So of course there are sprouts, there are cabbages, there are Swiss chard, and this is the end of the season, so everything is dying little by little. But we always leave every single plant a maximum in the ground. We want most of them to have their full cycle, because they will produce some seeds, and a lot of seeds we can eat, but of course we use them for next year to plant some new seedling. The longer you leave a plant in the system, the higher it contributes to the system. I mean, the best example is like if you leave a lettuce plant growing, you don't harvest it directly, but you let it grow. You just take the outer leaves for your salad, and then you let it grow. At one point the lettuce plant will be that high and it will produce a lot of yellow flowers that will attract the bees and the pollinators, and then those flowers will transform into seeds, and the seeds will also feed the birds and different animals which are necessary in the system. And then the plant will turn into a brown color. I mean, that's not a lettuce plant, but we will use also those dead bodies to feed up the compost, because we need to feed the soil. We don't want to feed the soil with anything from outside, so we need to feed the soil with something that we're producing here. Well, it will be the remnants of each plant that will feed the compost.
And the last stop on our tour is the Cowshet, or the Goshala.
How would you define cow protection? What is actually cow protection?
From obvious sense, of course, is that when we have cows, we protect them so we don't harm them in any way, and we let them live in the Goshala for the natural span of their lives, to the end of their lives. But we do not just protect them from external harm, but our goal is also to engage them in some service to people, to Radha Gopinath, so that not that they only just live off their lives, but they've done something very precious with their lives as well. Female cows are producing milk, and that goes to Radha Gopinath eventually, and devotees. Male cows are engaged in work, so they are protected physically from external harm, from slaughter, and plus on top of that they're engaged in some valuable service.
Tell me, what has attracted you to the cow service?
I was always attracted to work with animals and work outside with nature, and when I came to Radhadesh, from day number one they asked me if I can work with the cows. And in the beginning I was a bit intimidated because I never worked with big animals. I was more associated with dogs and more smaller animals. But slowly I developed relationship with them, and being outside with them, brushing them, milking them, you gradually develop relationship with them. That's how I basically fell in love with the service, being with these sweet entities who are so loving and gentle. Of course they have their characters, they can be naughty or sometimes displeased, but they never hold a grudge on you. Next time if you come with a carrot, they're very happy to see you.
How do you feel spiritually connected? What is your meditation doing the service? You're doing it because you feel connected to the service or to the purpose of the service?
I think it's a bit of both, as we may have heard that a cow is a saintly animal. In India, a cow is considered sacred. So working with sacred beings, you develop some certain qualities like peace of mind and mental purity. I cannot claim that I have attained those qualities, but I certainly have observed that they do make some effect on your consciousness. They do teach you patience and to slow down to their rhythm. And a spiritual goal, when you milk the cows, the milk is delivered to the kitchen, where it's later prepared in different sweets or all kinds of preparations, and that's offered to the deity, Radha Gopinath. So the food that Radha Gopinath gets on the altar originates here in Goshala from the cows. So it's an honor to do such a service, to deliver such a wonderful product of food to the deities. And of course, when you have working oxen, you engage them in certain service, like bringing wood from the forest, which is later used in heating the main furnace, and then you heat up apartments and water for devotees. Or you bring the cow down to the garden where they eventually plant. So the animals, they somehow or other, if not directly, then indirectly, they're serving with the devotees of God and being part of it and facilitating them to do that service. For me, it's a great honor to do that and great joy, of course.
So Radhadesh is many things. It's like a village. What are we offering to people who want to get some education? We have different things to offer. Of course, online we give some courses, but we also have the so-called Bhakti immersion days. Like if people come to Radhadesh and they want to have a full day of more spiritual focus, then they can come to a Bhakti day, like a japa session or a little bit of the philosophy. And we have a nice Bhagavad Gita walk here in the forest, that we also own that forest. It's 2 kilometers walk with some Bhagavad Gita slokas on the way. If they want to even get a little bit further, we have also a Be a Monk for the Week program, sometimes for the ladies, sometimes for the men, sometimes mixed. And then they can have like 3, 4, 5 or 7 days full experience of what it means to be a monk. If they want more, then we also have the 3 months Bhakta or Bhaktin program. They can be part of the community for 3 months. And if after that they really feel like, yes, we want to become a resident, then we look also a little bit at their inclination, their nature, and we can see if there is some service opportunities there, if we have some facilities to offer them. And then if there is mutual trust between the community and these new persons, then they become part of the community for a half year, a year, or whatever, the rest of their life, depending on how they develop themselves. But it's the philosophy is not, let's try to get as many people as possible to come to Radhadesh to live here. We want to be seen as an educational place, and based on their inclinations and based on their level of Krishna consciousness, their level of commitment, we either offer them short or longer courses with the principal idea that they go back to society and that they use all these tools and all the knowledge and all the skills that they developed engaging in the society at large, maybe become congregational members, maybe share the wisdom and the life lessons that they had, share that with their circles, their own circles of family and friends.
So, I hope I could whet your appetites, and if you're indeed interested in what this great place has to offer,
Please have a look at the official website of Radhadesh.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,